A new year of football begins for the CommBank Young Socceroos in China. Hello and welcome to the Yiwu Sports Stadium in China's Zhejiang province. Game 1 of the Friendship Series between Australia and China's under-20s sees Trevor Morgan's men kick off 2026 in the country where they lifted the Asian Cup for the first time ever last year. And it's a familiar foe from that tournament that awaits them today. Dejan Djordjevic's China, they were Australia's Group A neighbours in that tournament in March of last year. The Young Socceroos getting a frantic 2-1 win that helped them to top the group en route to lifting the trophy. And with a strong home support beside them today, China will be out to get something in the way of revenge, but it's a new generation of talent being tested at this age level for both sides today. Both squads virtually unrecognisable from the teams that took to the field at the Under-20 Asian Cup. Crucial first steps for the new blood on the road to Asian Cup qualifiers coming up this year in August and September. Great to have your company wherever you have been choosing to tune in from. We're going to catch up with the Australia side of things to begin the stream. We are going to have interviews pre-game from both coaches. Of course, Trevor Morgan, the head coach of the Australia under-20s, the man who took them to that Asian Cup triumph last year, as well as a competitive but ultimately disappointing group stage exit at the Under-20 World Cup in what was a very, very tough group in that particular campaign. Squad have made their way to China recently. There is the Australia head coach. He's looking to give a new cast of young characters a test at under-20 level. Many of the players you'll see today have come through the age ranks, lower youth levels in the Australian national team, and a fair few of them, no less than 7 in the starting 11 today, have had a test of and taste of professional football at the A-League men's level. Here's Trevor Morgan now.
So regarding your rivals, most of them just finished the CSL matches, and in your point of view, how this kind of status will affect today's match?
For the China team?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the challenge of international football. All of these young players need to understand that it's a very short time between playing club football and playing national team football. I'm sure they're very good players and they will rise to make it a good match.
对于他们而言，这种频繁的这种赛事的这种参加的切换，对他们而言肯定是一个非常具有挑战性的一个过程。但我觉得他们在今天的比赛里，肯定也会全力以赴，发挥得很好。
Great to hear from Trevor Morgan, a player or a man who won't be in any doubt as to the strength of this China side they will face today. Of course, spearheaded by Dejan Djordjevic, as they were at the Asian Cup. He's held a number of posts within the Chinese Football Association across the years. He's been there a handful of years now as the caretaker coach for the senior men's side at various portions of last year, but currently overseeing the national team at a variety of youth levels. He adds under-19 and under-18 football to his coaching experience. A Serbian-born manager whose playing days were mostly limited to his local years, but has really bedded himself into the Chinese Football Association setup. He'll be keen to get this new crop of youngsters fit and firing and ready to take on Australia.
Njihovi igrači većina dolaze iz njihove domaće lige. Šta mislite o njima?
Prvo razmišljamo o našoj ekipi, fokus je uvijek na nama, poštujemo, znamo da imaju vrlo iskusnog trenera s kojim su već prošla generacija otišla na svjetsko prvenstvo. Sve u svemu, još jednom kažem, prvi fokus je na nama, kako ćemo mi da igramo, da pokušamo da ono što treniramo da igramo, a naravno da ostvarimo dobar rezultat.
澳大利亚有非常经验的、丰富的主教练，他能组成一个非常有经验的球队。从我们来说，我们更加的立足于自我，我们把我们自己的战术、平时练的内容到比赛中表现出来，踢出最好的成绩。
If you're watching on the Football Australia YouTube live stream at home, I hope you've either got decent Chinese or decent Serbian, but one way or another. Those were the thoughts of Dejan Djordjevic. Good to see some Australian supports in the house at the U20 Sports Stadium. Of course, Australia and China will play each other again in a couple of days' time at the same venue. As part of the Friendship Series, a tour for young Australians to strengthen the links between China and Australia at a sporting and cultural level. We have seen China, of course, play in Australia at senior international level last night, knocking off Curaçao in Sydney. Winning results for both the Socceroos and the senior Chinese national team in New South Wales last night. Now it's over to the under-20s to see what these two can do. It's a friendly match where you can expect to see plenty of those players on the bench in Trevor Morgan's 23-man squad. Feature off the Pine this afternoon. It is a 3 o'clock local kickoff in China. Fans are building into voice as the two teams get set to make out their way out onto the Yiwu Sports Stadium pitch. We're going to have national anthems for both sides coming up before kickoff. There have been reports that there's an expectation of a very solid crowd in here today, pushing a 5-figure mark. You can see the grandstand on the opposite side. A healthy smattering of supporters looking to will their side on to what would be a first win against Australia at under-19 or under-20 level since 2006. It's been a fairly one-sided affair at this particular age group in the last 2 decades. Here come the teams out onto the pitch, ready for football at the U20 Sports Stadium. First step in the new campaign for Trevor Morgan's under-20s of Australia. China have already kicked off their new year, a couple of games against Uzbekistan in February, a draw and a win that Central Asian opposition. Ready to face off with another familiar Asian rival here. Two teams who have done the dance at so many different tournaments, but before we get to the football, we will pause for the national anthems of both countries.
请保持肃立，奏中华人民共和国国歌。
Stirring renditions of both anthems before kickoff here in Yiwu. Just about in readiness for kickoff here in China. There will be a raft of young talents looking to test themselves at the next age group up from which they've experienced. The players in China's under-20s today played under-19 age group football, making that little minor step up. These have many Australian talents as well. Here's the lineup for Australia. Central Coast keeper Jaya Janovic in between the posts. He's one of 7 A-League players in the starting side. You can see Delano Cecchi and Danilo Trefiletti both playing their trade in Italy, and there will be lots of focus in attack on Marcus Neal. He is the son of 91 cap Socceroo captain Lucas, and he has been banging in the goals for Sunderland's youth side. Here's a look at your referees and captains for this afternoon. Wang Di, the man in charge from China. It is China who line up as follows. Their captain, Yue Ruijie, is one of a number who plies his trade in the Chinese Super League. Jia Weiwei will be one to watch out for, the number 10. He scored one of those goals in the most recent international break against Uzbekistan. And the number 18, Alex Xie, is actually an Australian-born Chinese international. There's Trevor Morgan alongside Richard Garcia. A number of former players in the coaching ranks. Dejan Djordjevic, a familiar face for those who are watching the Asian Cup group stage when these two faced off in the final game of Group A. Frantic fixture of football that saw Australia score 2 goals in 2 minutes. Medin Mehmeti and Luis Agosti getting the goals that made the difference on the day, paving the way for a penalty shootout win against Saudi Arabia. It's the new crop who takes centre stage today. Luis Marinucci of Melbourne Victory wearing the captain's armband. And Wang Di gets us underway in the Zhejiang province. Gets the young Socceroos off and running in the new year. Fans, as you can hear, have filled their home stadium with a rich atmosphere. Through from Deng Zhefu. Trevor Morgan's got the notepad out. Not too many things to make a note of as yet, but ready as and when required. Ball forward by Yi Hassan. China looking to build down their right flank through Yang Ming Murray. It's a decent cross and repelled by Australia's defence. It's Peter Antonio battling to win it back for Australia in the corner. Can only force Jiefu to a momentary retreat. The top talents of this Chinese age group, Dong Jiefu, playing in the Chinese Super League. As the ball comes in and it's dealt with by Australia again. Nice little turn to win a pressure relieving free kick from Danilo Trefiletti. Many a fascinated onlooker in Australia to see the 18-year-old offer, currently playing in the Primavera, top youth league in Italy for Monza. It's a player who has represented both Italy and Australia at youth international level. It's his first time in the Australian international fold for a few years. By their home support, China have started this game with some good energy. Turning up the line in search of Amlani Tatu. It's a great ball down the flank. Now Rundong driving at his defenders. Rundong on routes by Luka Didelica. Really nice run from China's number 11. Some of the 22 players from that Uzbekistan squad earlier in February. So there is a bit of continuity the Chinese national team from their last international break. Quite so for Australia. Let's have a look at the run. Good stuff, and an important block from the towering Luka Didelica. Defence for Australia. 19-year-old who stands at whopping 200 centimetres tall. Forward by Didelica, out of the reach of Trefiletti. Song Hung-da, who heads clear. Miao Rundong, actually playing in the Chinese Champions League, the 4th tier football here in this country. Trefiletti that time just of ideas in support with Delano Cecchi. Trefiletti is calling Italy home at the moment on the books of Sampdoria. Originally from Perth, a Fremantle City junior. 17-year-old is a left-sided defender. Profile of player that Australians take keen interest in. For the defenders like gold dust these days, and Trevor Morgan will have his eye squarely on the player who's eligible for both Australia and Italy. Going up but not away. Nickel couldn't make anything of the loose ball. It's been raucous so far in the city of Yewu. Side still waiting to settle into rhythm on the road. One back well by Trefaletti. Hayneems. Dobson turned into trouble in midfield and China are able to win it back. Rundong. It's already threatened early. Breezes past Antonio. Gets the cutback in. And it's Marinucci with the all-important touch for Australia. Song Heung-da. Leave a little bit too clever. Marinucci equal to the task, but more pressure on the way. New ball in. Antonio will head clear. Captain not liking what he sees as yet further afield. Jumping. Those Chinese Super League talents in the books, but everyone's senior footballing experience pales into comparison to the man who just passed the ball. Will Dobson, a starring role for the leading Newcastle Jets in Australia this season. Song Heung-da. It's a searching ball. It's Marinucci will be equal to. Let's have a look at that run that forced his involvement, the Young Socceroos captain, before. Has been busy. He's the man from Melbourne Victory. Players who did break through into under-20s football at the end of last year in the SBS Cup in Japan. China looking to break the lines of what's been a solid 2 blocks of 4 in the last few minutes from Australia. Animated Dino Djurdjevic. Pleased what he's seen with what he's seen from his side so far. Reggie back to Yi Hassan. Australia trying to coax China into a turnover here, and Mani Tatu did exactly that. Chujun. Rundong again, that pass, has it been overcooked? It's kept alive very nicely indeed by Dung Jie-fu. Australia do enough to quell the growing threat down the left. or maybe not. The ball is going to favour Janovic there. It's a signal of applause from Ray. For McNichol. Lovely work by Trefiletti. Good exchange of pass from the Young Socceroos. Just the kind of fluency we'll be after on a more consistent basis in this game. Reach the very high bar that players who walk through this age group before them have set. Dudalitsa, Names. Passing comes to an end at the feet of Peter Antoniou, and much to the chagrin of Australia, Wang Di. Whistle in China's favour. Antoniou just caught the toes. She Chujun did grow up in Australia, was born in the country of his opposition today, currently his trade in Germany with Stuttgart's under-19s. Shang. Shang again. Captain to go on a marauding run. It's Minrue who fancied the early delivery but thought better of it. The pass forward is a little listless. Dobson finds himself hemmed in at the corner. Trying to produce the stoppage. Plenty of resolute defending so far for the Young Socceroos. Ahead of McNichol and past the reach of Dunjefu. A number of these young players who've recently debuted in the Chinese Super League. That competition has only recently kicked off. Very differently to the schedule of their native country, Australia, the A-League. A little out-voiced at the moment, those two in green and gold. And the little one as well. Dobson manages to find a way through where perhaps there wasn't one, and will have to content himself with a throw this time around. Tattoo. Oh, that's a great ball for Quinn McNichol. Good block in the China defence. Australia are going to get their first corner of the afternoon's action. Really incisive pass from Peter Antoniou of Melbourne City. Just couldn't find an avenue inside. Referee with a bit of sorting out to do in the penalty area. Tattoo trying to make himself a nuisance in the face of Yi He-san. Dobson's delivery shallow, side-footed away. The shot from range will come off Tattoo, and offside flag is raised despite the protestations of the Chinese faithful. This is perhaps a chance for Australia to have a spell of possession. Line breaker to beat. Hasn't made his debut at A-League level or even at senior level yet. Lewis Marinucci has got off to a stolid start with Victoria's youth team in the Victorian Premier League this season. He started 5 of the 6 games in the new season. Trafiletti given one to chase, away by Regia. Losing presence is the 18-year-old captain. Kept in play by Delano Cecchi. Marinucci has seen plenty of the football early. Perhaps too much for the liking of Trevor Morgan. It's a great ball down the line for Will Dobson. Oh, how good is that from the youngster? Quality play from the Jets. Now space opens up for Australia. Quinn McNichol looking for a crossing angle. It's touched into the side netting. Another corner coming for Australia. We've grown into this game in the last couple of minutes. 2 brilliant runs. First from Will Dobson, the second from Quinn McNichol. Maybe took himself a bit too wide. They've taken the corner quickly. McNichol, ball into the box, is comfortably collected by 17-year-old Yi He-san. The number. This China team who have come through. Shandong Taishan. Playing for their B team. A number of his club teammates out there today. It's a little rugged on the halfway line from Australia. Cecchi manages to keep the ball in the grasp with the green and gold, and a little bit untoward on that occasion between Ming Ray, Delano Cecchi, and China's coach Dejan Djordjevic has made his way onto the field, and he is playing the role of police. This is the incident. You can see Cecchi just took a bit of exception to that leg from young Ming Ray. Cecchi was not best pleased. Djordjevic was swiftly in to get his players away from the scene of the crime. He did not want that to escalate any further than it needed to. So there's cards coming out. Yi He-san picks up a ticket for his involvement in the remonstration that followed. But all Australia will get the ball. It's given straight back to China in the end. It's a friendly game, of course. Usually, referees a little bit more lenient with cards and cautions. Don't want to see players sent off in testing environments such as this, but it did get heated between those two. Intriguing opening 20 at the U20 Sports Stadium. China with the better of the chances, but Morgan side have slowly found their footing in the game. Yi Hassan trying to coax Australia out of their rugged defensive shape. Forward by China. Min Ray goes down. The China fans ask the question, but Luis Marinucci emerges from the scene of the incident unbothered. McNichol. Dobson putting it into the path of Amlani Tatu, who's brought down. Again, the whistle remains by the side of Wong Di. Contentious calls in either direction. Both home and away supports. It's a sign of a game that is beginning to open its way up. Ivanovic to swallow that away. Searching pass for Tatu, well judged by Yi Hassan. China will have to be wary of the lightning speed of Amlani Tatu, the Adelaide United youngster. Success international level with Australia. There's a number of players out there who won the Under-16 Asian Championships a couple of years ago. A little back heel from Trefoletti, kept alive by Cecchi. Two Italian Australians combining nicely. Eventually just lose out to the weight of numbers. Haynes. Cecchi prodding forward, Dobson dragging back, and Marcus Neal couldn't find a way to turn that one goalward. Haven't seen too much of Australia's line leader so far this afternoon. There'll be no shortage of interested onlookers upon him. We mentioned his famous father. Arrives into the international break, having scored a boatload of goals in Sunderland's Youth Academy. There in 2024 from the youth books of Liverpool. 30 goals in 62 games across all age groups for Sunderland. Recently read the step back up to their Premier League 2 side, the under-20s. 6 goals in 8 games for the under-18s, made himself undeniable for a step up. Dobson. One back but well by Quinn McNichol. Good challenge that from Luka Tidalica. A player in this team who's got notable heritage. His dad, Joey, was an Australian-born player, but represented Croatia at international level 4 times. Towering goalkeeper, just giving rise to a towering central defender. Amlani Tatu. McNichol not quite hitting his straps to reach the ball forward. Antonio concedes the free kick. This battle with Yarundong has been an intriguing one so far. China fans just taking a bit of a beat. There's much clapping and jumping, but they're still making plenty of noise. Eames, good scrapping from the Mariners youngster. That is Scrappy from Jeonpung. Trevor Morgan's reaction says it all. It's just a blatant haul down. Delano Chechi. Have done well to assert themselves in this contest, but they've got a bit of defending to do here. Yang Min Rei to Song Hoon Da. Shi Chujun. Couldn't really make much of that in the middle. China's number 7, Yang Min Rei. A handful for Australia's defence so far. Applying his trade with Dalian Yingbo in the Chinese Super League. The first player born in 2007 to feature in that competition last season. Dalian's youngest ever goal scorer. Quickly by Will Dobson. Good angle ball that misses Tatu. Will it sit for Marcus Neal? There's a pop on the turn, but Australia getting closer to forcing Yi Hassan into a serious save. Second ball dealt with by China, and Marcus Neal, well, just slipped in the turf, I think. Nicol was asking the question, but when you're in the form in 5 goals that Marcus Neal is, why not? Yarundong. This is a fantastic run. It's a big deflection. Ijanovic can't get there, and China hit the front. And it's one of their players who has looked most likely. Yang Min Rei opens the scoring for the hosts in the Zhejiang province. Australia not able to deal with the heavy deflection. It was a quality run from Yarundong. He was taking on all comers. Ijanovic was just caught betwixt and between, really rushing out and holding the line. And Yang Min Rei, the 18-year-old, didn't think twice about it. The man who scored in their most recent international against Uzbekistan in a 1-1 draw. He's opened the scoring in Yiwu. Work to do for Trevor Morgan's Young Socceroos. frustration for Australia will be that the goal arrives at a period in which Australia had probably been their most controlling of the game, even without providing a significant threat to the China defence. The goal scorer, Yang Min-rae. We're hopeful of a surprising counter there, but the referee, the free kick in favour of Danilo Trefiletti, who was offended by the goal scorer. A combination of the goal scorer and Zhang Peng. First competitive hit-outs 2026. Australia are being handed a fair test. Chechi's early ball, a decent-looking one. Yi Hassan punching away. China have enjoyed the occasional win over Australia on the international stage at senior level, but it has not been since 2006. We have registered a win at under 19 and under 20 level. Australia have beaten them in both of their meetings last year and in the Panda Cup in 2024. Went undefeated. A win in the Asian Cup, a draw at the Panda Cup. A scoreline that gives Trevor Morgan plenty to think about. The final 10 minutes of the first half approaching. McNichol couldn't win it back in advance of She Chujun. China are marching forward again here with menace. It's poked across to the goal scorer, Min-rae, and headed away by Antonio. Another mazy run down the China left, and the shot hits the underside of the crossbar. And Australia survive a scare. Another dazzling run from Yarun Dong. It's been too hot to handle on the China left. They've come much closer, the 18-year-old. Took a touch off the boot of Didalitsa, and goal frame is probably still shaking. It was struck with that much venom. Trying to double the shot count. The stat that matters, that one on target, has provided them the opener. Yi Hassan yet to be given too much to do by Trevor Morgan's men. Didalitsa. Good vision through the lines to find Haynes. Central Coast Mariners prodigy, who's reportedly attracted some serious interest from a couple of clubs in the English Premier League. There's Neil and Jir getting in a tangle. Now here's Amlani Tatu with options to aim at. Marcus Neil couldn't find the flick. And it's out harmlessly in the end for a goal kick. A beautiful pass from McNichol. And you could see what Marcus Neil was trying. Back heel flick. He hasn't scored a international goal for Australia as yet, Marcus Neil. He's represented his country at under 16 and under 18 level. That would have been quite the way to open his Australia accounts. Dobson. McNichol have combined nicely in midfield for Australia so far. Thrust has been frequent, that's better. Only for a moment though, Eames has lost out and China have runners left and right. And go across for Miarundong. Get his goal now, Rundong lets rip, and another touch is crucial for the Australian defence. Most pick themselves up another corner. A predictable source. And the lead up by Zheng Yishun. Australia have had very little in the way of an answer for the running of Miarundong. Teenager who's playing in the Chinese Champions League, the 4th tier of China at the present moment. Corner taken short, whipped in first time. It's a rehearsed move and the side-footed effort well wide in the end from Zheng Yishun. Good invention on the set piece routine though from Djurdjevic's side. Did go on to make the quarterfinals of the Asian Cup that Australia won on their turf last year. Going down to the Saudi Arabia side that Australia ultimately beat. Minutes to go left in the first half. Hassan still yet to make a save in the Chinese goal. Morgan would love to see his side engineer an equaliser before the interval. Do it with passes like that though, past the reach of Delano Chechi. Payne Eames. Hot football, well dealt with by McNichol. Antonio distributing to Tatu. It's a good ball from Antonio. McNichol gets the eyes up, feints wonderfully. Quinn McNichol! Oh, that would have been special from the Brisbane Roar teenager. Blazes wide of the goal frame in the end. Australia, they have shown their moments of quality. They've really shown some quality with the ball at feet. Some of the passing selection and technical football on display. Defensive attempts to try and deny Quinn McNichol have come at a personal cost for Jefu. The spray's out, so that's good news. friendly fire in the end from two Chinese teammates. Happy with what they're seeing so far. So too is he. This injury for Dong Jiefu. A chance for both managers just to give a impromptu team talk. They've got a bigger and more important one coming up. Those Australian fans will be hoping for something more than the scoreline they're currently seeing. Still Jiefu. Big his way off the turf. We'll have to keep an eye out. The fate of the Chinese fullback. His Chinese Super League debut at the start of the month against Wuhan Three Towns for Beijing Guan. China in no hurry. Take the throw through Song Hung Da. She Chujun back to Najit. Hassan. Long, hopeful ball. Hayneem's heading it onwards, and he'll pick up the free kick. Known as Young Gun, of course. No stranger to playing away in China. Had a taste of the Asian Champions League here last year. She became the youngest player ever to wear the captain's armband. As Marcus Neal is scrapping to control it, couldn't do so. Dobson upended. No ball, says the referee, and shifted wide to Min Ray. Moving forward, young Min Ray has been double teamed. Now the support comes in. It's a clever pass inside. Min Ray's ball is rather overcooked. That's what he was trying to do, ping it across to Miao Rungdon. Those two have been the trickiest customers for Australia's defence. Tatu crashing in to try and make the ball Australia's, but to no avail. Slid to She Chujun. It's back with Young Min Ray. Oh! That would have been a howitzer of a second for this talented Chinese team. He got his boot behind it and then some. Really firmly struck. You can see from that angle, even though Jajanovic dived down to meet it, it was always travelling wide. Trefiletti brought down, and China will have another player make their way into the referee's pocketbook. Zhang Yisheng, the latest to enter it. Trefiletti has had good flashes in his return to Australian international honours. He's been living in Italy since 2019 with his family. Stoppage time almost elapsed. Is there one last push here for Australia? Tatu. Taken off him by Zhang Yisheng. Generous. As referee Wang De feeling. Goes in for Tatu, who fires the ball in. They still set up for Antonio or Tatu. It's the Adelaide winger who picks it up. The ball is just under the studs of Dobson. Check the watch from Wang De. That'll do it in the first 45. It's a very happy Yiwu Stadium so far. China leading the visiting Young Socceroos, courtesy of a goal in the 30th minute from Yang Min Rei. It's been a topsy-turvy encounter so far. Both sides have different patches of control on the game. China, it would be fair to say, have had the better of the chances. Work to do for Trevor Morgan's Young Socceroos on the other side of the break. The halftime score, China 1, Australia 0. To ponder for Trevor Morgan's side. At the interval, they were limited mostly to sighters and half chances. Marcus Neal's shot on the turn before the opening goal. One of the main opportunities that they had to look at. Do have plenty of talent to turn to on the sideline should they need them, Australia. The second half that awaits the likes of Matthias McAllister, Arthur DeLima, Gio Diabreu, Alex Wong, Max Anastasio. There is plenty of promising players. Come on and turn this game, but plenty to be decided on the other side of the halftime interval. It is 1-0 at the break to China at the Yiwu Sports Stadium. Welcome back to the Yiwu Sports Stadium in the Zhejiang province in China. China currently 1-0 ahead against Australia. You can see the halftime stats and the heat maps for both sides in possession. China have actually controlled things through the middle of the park. It has been a seesawing affair so far, and these are the highlights from the opening half that we have to look back on. Both coaches have had plenty to pay attention to. It was China who started the brightest through one of their most dangerous talents, Miao Rundong. A fizzing early drive that was well blocked by Kadidalitsa in defence for Australia. A defence that was called into action in central areas pretty frequently. Luis Marinucci, the under-20s captain, himself involved. He's trying to continue to test and probe this look Australia under-20s backline. Australia did grow into the game though, and Will Dobson was one of the players who helped them find a route back in. His partnership with Quinn McNichol was a good one. This was an early half chance for Australia. Those were the kind of opportunities to which they were mostly limited. It did get a little bit heated as well. This altercation ended with Yi Hassan, the China goalkeeper, going into the book. Marcus Neal, for a number of maybe moments. That's an expression that tells the story for Australia after 45 minutes. And this was the moment for China. Another great run from Miao Rundong. Jiang Min-rei, the winger on the opposite side, finishing his dinner. Sending the solid China support here in the Zhejiang province into raptures. The deflection just catching Australia's defence on the hop. And Janovic could not do much in the face of the onrushing Min-rei, who gets his second goal for China in the space of a month. And nearly went very close to making it two. This one whacking the apex of the goal frame from Miao Rundong, who try as he might, and he did try, could not engineer a goal to his name. This would have been something special from Marcus Neal, the back heel flick coming from the cross of Amlani Tatu, but symptomatic of the half that Australia have had. Plenty of promising passing in the build-up, but forcing Yi Hassan into solid saves. It's proved tricky. It was nearly a superb goal, and a second for Min-rei. There's a set of first half Welcome back to the Yiwu Sports Stadium in the city of Yewu in China's Zhejiang province. It is the CommBank Young Socceroos with work to do in the second 45 of Game 1 against China in the Friendship Series. We'll play again these two national teams in midweek, but Australia will be looking for a route back into this contest and more. Again, they are currently trailing 1-0 courtesy of a goal from Young Min Ray. Much to the delight of what has been a raucous home support in the city of Yiwu. Opening 45 that's fairly evenly placed, but China found the moment that counted, and Australia are going to have to find the moments to engineer a second half comeback. We're underway for the second 45. Of course, this is a friendly series here in China. A chance for Trevor Morgan to test players, a new crop of mostly 2007 and 2008 born players at this age group, and in that vein he has swapped his goalkeepers around. Jai Ajanovic has taken his leave and has been replaced by 19-year-old Daniel Graskowski of Melbourne Victory. It's a player who will be familiar face to regular youth national team viewers. He has come up from the 17s, 18s, 19s into the Young Socceroos fold, to the Under-20 World Cup with Australia last year, to Chile. As McNichol has a shot on the turn with a rebound fall for Dobson. Well, nearly a solid start to the second 45 for Australia. As yet that goalkeeper change, their only change. And here comes China on the charge through Miao Rundong. He was their danger man in the first half, but he's just put a bit too much meat on the pass for Jia Weiwei. Tatu given one to chase. Mani Tatu backed himself in the foot race and nearly won it back at the opposite end. Australia's start to this second 45 will be instructive, and thus far it has been a bright one. Names taking their free kick quickly. Australia in no mood to slow the pace. McNichol just left his pass ajar to be intercepted by China, who have got breakneck speed on the break through the likes of Min Ray and Rundong. Interesting to see how Australia deal with the Chinese wide threats in this second half. It was the predominant pain point for Australia in the opening 45. Graskowski pushed the ball forward. Who has in the youth ranks of both sides of the Melbourne Derby divide. Junior product of Northcote City in Victoria. Players who has been cited at under 20 level before in this squad. It's going to be missed by Trefiletti. Trying to head all the way back to Ji Hassan, their goalkeeper. If you missed it in the first half, or one of two Chinese players to go into the book. It's this earlier chance for Quick McNichol, and Dobson has had such a surety to his touches in the majority today, the Newcastle Jets. Just escaped him that time around. Ji Hassan, try as he might, can't deny an Australia corner. In fact, he didn't need to deny one. Delano Cecchi thought for sure that the last touch had come off a red shirt. Referee Wong De deciding otherwise. Won by towering presence of Luka Didelica. Australia upping the ante so far in the second half. They have not lost at this under-19 age group level to China since 2006. They will not be keen to let such an imperious record slip. Antonio taking up a central position. Trefiletti in search of Marcus Neal. Adjusts the flight of the ball nicely and brings it back to McNichol. An enterprising ball. Safety first by China's defense. Song Hung Da heading out at the expense of an Australia corner. Australia do have some tall timber for Dobson to aim at. Didelica standing at 200 centimeters tall. Marinucci not far behind, and have to wait until this corner comes in as Marinucci got himself into a tangle with Chiang Yishung. United in China League One. Here's Dobson's corner. Marinucci was the target. The third corner does not produce much, Australia. The second ball is important. Well won by Hayne Eames. And a little chip over the top was beautiful. Marcus Neal couldn't make the cutback work for Tatu. Whatever Trevor Morgan said in the sheds at half-time in Yiwu has been working so far, but for an equalising goal. Eames. McNichol. Australia robbing the ball back off their Chinese opposition. It's McNichol. He's maybe got a little bit too excited as he cantered forward into the penalty area. Who's been a standout of Australia's younger age groups. I mentioned that Asian Under-16 Championship victory for Australia in 2024. Nicol was one of the stars of the tournament, scored a handful of goals for Australia. Some good defensive work there in the eyes of the referee. Skoski. It's a wayward long ball. Nichols pressure enough to thwart the advance of Jiefu. To Yi Hassan. It's to China to attempt to quell the growing energy and confidence of Australia. McNichol involved again. That time he can't find a way to make the sombrero work. Who announced himself to senior football so quickly. His debut for Brisbane Roar as a 15-year-old in 2023 in the Australia Cup. The competition's youngest scorer against Sydney United, a record that holds to this day. Found his way into a bit more first-team football this season. McNichol, 13 appearances, just the one start for Brisbane Roar in their topsy-turvy A-League men's campaign. As Antonio of Melbourne City steps inside and burns around a few. And that pass will find Amlani Tatu. Good save by Yi Hassan. First real big chance for Australia in this game. Could not be extracted to full effect by Amlani Tatu. All credit must go to the run of Peter Antonio, who's now got to track back. Jia Wei moves it across the face of the penalty area, and Australia have the answers in defence. McNichol got a bit too clever there. New ball, Trefaletti first to it. Upended by the goal scorer, Minre. These two are exchanging, if not a war of words, at the very least a war of facial expressions. This has really turned into a ding-dong battle second half. Dong. China's captain, Regia. Feels as though the fans at the Iwumehu Sports Stadium have responded to the rising stakes. Their decibel levels, it is deafening inside that packed grandstand at the moment. There's pre-match estimations of between 10,000 and 20,000 for this fixture. Lived up to the billing, the evidence you can see at home. It feel like 100,000 with the noise that they have brought. This atmosphere a great test for visiting Australia side. Just trying to go searching for a second. Minre. It's the overlapping run of Song Hung Da. Try to flip the field. Dong Jiefu denied by the long limbs of Luka Didelica. Rundong. Dong Jiefu. It's back wide to Young Min Ray. China building nicely here, but cross too close to the keeper, comfortably dealt with by Daniel Graskowski. 10-year-old's been fairly assured so far since coming on at the break. Still yet to see an outfield substitution for either side. There's 23-player squad, so no shortage of bench options. Both coaches to pick from. China not able to pick Peter Antonio off legally. It's a brilliant ball. Marcus Neal just past the grasp of Amlani Tatu. So, gesture of appreciation from the Adelaide United flyer. Two very different styles of supports in the stands in Yiwu. Separate sets of active supporters as well it seems. Behind the goal, in the corner on the left-hand side of your screen, you'll see them come into view, trying to take the ball forward. Didalitsa goes searching for Marcus Neal. Min Ray driving it to Lano Cecchi. Feeds it forward to Jia Weiwei. Those two having a little game between themselves. That's broken up by Song Heung Da. Jefu now. China are going to try the left through. Arung Don. Well, defended by Quinn McNichol. He's not been afraid to put his body about in defence for Australia. It's a poor one though. Young Min Ray chesting and turning and firing away. He has got some dynamite in those boots. 18-year-old Dalian Yingbo. Played onside by Luka Didalitsa. And the shots. No threats in the end. Here's some threats coming for China. Triple substitution en route from Trevor Morgan. Beautiful flick. Song Heung Da bombing forward. China building really nicely here, but the ball is out of play before the fullback can lift the ball into the penalty area. Gyros, Matthias McAllister. Two of the three players about to enter the fray for Australia. Lawrence Wong the other. Curious to see who it is they will be coming on for. Here come the subs. It's Trevor Morgan who blinks first in terms of outfielders. Gyros come on in place of Amlani Tatu, who's Australia's best chance in this game. Matthias McAllister, Sydney FC, the son of former A-League player and Australian age group international Dylan is on. It's another son of a gun in Jai Rose. The Western Sydney Wanderers on in place of Will Dobson, who's been very impressive today. Confirmation of that final entrance into the game. Lawrence Wong making his way on. Lawrence Wong, the 18-year-old of Melbourne City, actually of Chinese heritage. His family originating from Guangdong. He's actually eligible to represent China, is my understanding, but born and raised in Melbourne, a Manningham United junior who's risen all the way through Melbourne City's academy pathway. City Football School to debutant, the first player ever to achieve that milestone. It's a wayward cross from Song Heung Da. Trefiletti was the other player who came off for Australia. We'll play again on Tuesday. Both coaches will have to be mindful of that. Min Ray still trying to get the radar in from range. China's number 7. Hits them, they stay hits. tackle for Delano Cecchi. The noise builds to stratospheric levels inside the Yiwu Sports Stadium. Lawrence Wong, first touches for the substitute from Melbourne City. And so too Gyros, great opportunity here. Marcus Neal denied by Yi Hassan. Great play from the Young Socceroos, matched by the goalkeeping from the 17-year-old Yi Hassan. The substitutes have their desired effect straight away. Marcus Neal just couldn't slide it through the legs of the goalkeeper, who made his body big and to his feet very acrobatically as well. Now he's in a tangle with Matthias McAllister. Really beautiful to see so many sons of Australian football products out there in this side today. As Lawrence Wong sends in the corner, headed away by the first man. Substitute still getting his radar in from the flags. Gyros. His pressure forces Zhang Yisheng to concede a corner. Sons of Guns, Gyros, of course. His dad, Josh Rose, a 200-game A-League veteran, a champion of that competition with the Mariners. That's a better corner from Wong. Flapping at it was Yi Hassan. There'll be a corner at the opposite side. The Chinese keeper has been very busy in this second half. Right on the hot spot. China making the case that perhaps the last touch was off Marcus Neal, and on the evidence of that replay, to sympathise with them in any case. In comes Australia's corner, up went Marinucci. Antonio. Neem's pass is intercepted. Regier. China captain is the latest player to find himself on the floor. Dampening their enthusiasm, especially not with the scoreline as it is. China are going to make a substitution shortly. Antonio's ball in, nearly tucked away by Marcus Neal, who is starting to rack up the chances, leading the line for Australia. A delicate pass from Quinn McNichol. Missile of a cross from Antonio, and Neal could not guide the effort on target. They are mustering up a very persistent knock at the door at the moment, are Australia. Linija Loman, the player you saw warming up, getting the shirt on for China before. They bolster their defensive ranks shortly. Marcus Neal, his dad, had to wait a long time for a first international goal. Just the one in his 91 caps for Australia. It's been a far shorter search for his son. Let's see what it means, how desperate he is to find that first goal in green and gold in a second half that's opened up. 16 shots. China still edging that figure, but Australia starting to rack up opportunities. McAllister. Touch just a fraction too heavy. The 18-year-old from Sydney FC. Certainly in the early days of his senior footballing stint with the Sky Blues. 4 A-League appearances this year. His debut in the Asian Champions League 2 last year against Bangkok United. Australian attacker has been able to get the better of Yi Hassan so far. Rundong running out of real estate. That may potentially bring about China's first change, or perhaps not. Are infield for Anthems. It is just brilliant from the as midfielder at club level. McNichol, good use of the body, doesn't have much in the way of support, but he'll do it all himself. That is fantastic. Here's the chance for Marcus Neal. It's across the face of goal. And a corner en route for Australia. Neal gets another opportunity at the end of some individual brilliance from Quinn McNichol. Had Matthias McAllister just gambled on it a little bit more, he could have been eyeing up another goal as an Australian youth international. Those China changes on the way. This is why some intensive medical attention. A member of the Chinese defence, Australia continue to bring their young talents off the pine. It's a talented trio right there. Arthur De Lima, Marnie Diabreu and Jaden Nikovsky. Outing for those China fans so far. This is the goal that separated the sides for 40 minutes now. Young Min Rae. That's the chance, the chief chance that Australia have got to look back on. Lani Tatu. They can turn their attention back to their search for the equaliser. Wong's delivery, wicked. China heads, meet it first. Teams in a tangle, no whistle from the referee. Antonio, early ball, McAllister, he's clipped. Rather, he clips Yue Regia in his efforts to shoot on a tight angle. Missed the ball, got the player. It's an unfortunate one for Matthias McAllister. Second successive triple change for Australia. Jaden Nikovsky coming on in place of Kadidalitsa. Quinn McNichol taking a well-earned rest on the sideline. He's replaced by Gio Diabreu. Marcus Neal is to have to wait until Tuesday night's game for a chance to open his Australian account. He has been replaced by Arthur De Lima. China have got 4 players waiting in the wings. And they nearly had an opportunity for a second goal there. Jaden Nikovsky straight into action. Of defence, not necessarily Australia's deepest position at this age bracket, but in volume of options they certainly make up for in talent and heights. Nikovsky, another towering central defensive option at 195 centimetres. He goes alongside Luis Marinucci. China's corner firmly struck. Free header at the back post. Cleared away by Marinucci. Launched forward in hope as much as anything by Australia. Often you say this in football, it's more frequent in international friendlies, mind you, but it is now a quintuple sub upcoming for China. And 15 minutes still to play in Yiwu. Australia have been searching for 45 minutes now for a leveler. Gotten closer with every passing minute. Antonio to pick the gap for Arthur De Lima. City fullback gives away a free kick that is going to set about this cavalcade of China changes. Tong Rei, the first player to enter the field of play in place of Zhao Weiwei. Rundong has also taken his leave alongside Zhang Peng. Shu to the field alongside Jalu, leaving with the aid of a stretcher is their captain Yue Rejie. Very impressive today. Rundong. Australia will be watching out for him in the second game. After being taken off on the stretcher, Rejie straight back onto his feet as soon as he hit the sideline. It's almost new look 11s for both sides. China continuing to cling on to their 1-0 advantage, which has looked increasingly precarious as time has gone on. Marinucci prods it forward somewhat listlessly. Open the door for a Chinese second. Well, no, it's really well done by Jai Rose, and Australia were nearly on the move there, but for the misplaced pass of Lawrence Wong. The pass back to Marinucci. He's had a breakout year at Perth Glory. 18-year-old Gio Diabrou. His debut back in December against Adelaide United, and he's pretty much been a Cup starter ever since. It starts from 13 games. Awkward one this for Nikolsky, but here comes Daniel Graskowski to swallow up the danger. It's interesting to note that as a result of those substitutions made by Dejan Djordjevic for China, goal scorer Elvin Reyes come across to the opposite side. Now here come Australia. Arthur De Lima, tantalising cross, but it's well in advance of Matthias McAllister in the end. Was there, but the willing targets just weren't. Jai Rose. Side it comes, well that's set up for Matthias McAllister. He's brought to ground. It's a penalty for Australia. And Matthias McAllister capitalises on some chaos in the China defence. And Australia will get a golden opportunity to equalise from the spot with 10 minutes to go. He's not well dealt with by Uerejia, the China captain. His teammates lunged in to try and thwart the threat of Matthias McAllister, and their efforts to do so brought him to ground and send Australia to the spot. A big spot kick coming up in game 1 of the Friendship Series. And a chance for Matthias McAllister to score his first goal for the under-20s. Here is McAllister. Oh no! Well, he's gone for the chip, and it's gone wrong for the youngster. Oh, the Panenka penalty. They look so good when they work. It's so disappointing when they don't. Tried to do Yi Hassan with the eyes, but in the end, the 17-year-old was able to produce a fairly comfortable stop. McAllister, who'd done the work to win the penalty, will be kicking himself. Opportunity slips away for Australia to equalise. For now, opportunity from the spots may be gone, but the opportunity in this game still remains alive. So, that doesn't tickle from Gyros. Suspended China's number 8, Zhang Jiaming. He's one of those 5 players who came onto the field. Actually, a really highly touted Chinese talent he is. Currently on loan in Serbia with Vozdavac. On loan, I should say, from Burnley in England. He's played a couple of seasons in Chinese League One. Father, a former Chinese international as well. Actually a member of Bayern Munich's world squad last year. He shares with Australia's Gio Diabrou. It's the 2024 class of that world squad that gets to be part of the Bayern system and play friendly games against some of the world's best. Shu. Picked off by McAllister. He'll carry it forward. De Lima, furthest man forward. McAllister stops and props nicely. And Wong is able to get it back to Matthias McAllister. He's sloping his way forward. Now Gyros. Can Australia find that equaliser? And the shot from range is blocked from Hayne Eames. Is robbed of it by Zhu Xinyu. China getting closer to a first win at this age group level since 2006. Test of the mettle of this new crop of young Socceroos. So they have to wait until Tuesday for the chance to on what they've learned from this game. It's a 2-game friendship series, both games at the same stadium. Nice Fremantle Shark scarf there. See the action in Yiwu drawing interest from more comers. A number of WA-born players in Australia's squad. Moving a bit in on gyros. McAllister finds that opening wonderfully. Diabru. Turn in the China midfield. Too hot for Delano Chechi to handle. Some quality stuff from Xinyu. China are about to turn to one of their premier teenage talents as we look back at the goal that split the sides. Min Ray on the half-hour mark. He's going to be the latest Chinese player to be taken off the field with the aid of the stretcher bearers. Watch the cheer-abouts inside the stadium at Yiwu. Turned out in force for their under-20s and far from getting their reward. It doesn't get any easier for Australia. Xiang Xin, the 18-year-old, making his way onto the field. He has played not just through the age groups for China, but he's been called up to the under-22s. He's going to be playing second tier of China with Meizhou Haka. He's about to make the move to France's Ligue 1. The pre-arranged June transfer with Auxerre in France. Of course, Auxerre owned by Chinese ownership group as Gyros wants to build something for Australia. Hassan launched his limb towards the ball. No saving required in the end. Signs of time starting to work against the Young Socceroos. Morgan will at least be pleased with just how good some of his substitutes have been since coming on the field. See Wei Xiong Shun onto the field. Peter Antonio has departed. And it's a nice moment here for Gabriel Tillo, who wasn't initially meant to be part of Australia's Friendship Series squad. Illness to Manchester United's James Overy opened the door for the player who plies his trade for Sydney United in the NPL New South Wales. Passed onto the blocks last year with a goal on starting or senior debut, the 17-year-old against St George FC. His first Australian call-up straight out of the National Premier Leagues. That was very nicely won back by China indeed. Cross takes a deflection. It's an important intervention from Gio Diabru. Wong trying to go on a one-man mission. Finds support in the form of Arthur De Lima. of the zip of their building attack. It's China who have the throw. It's China who are inching closer to a win in the first fixture of the Friendship Series. Some quality on display there from Zhang Jiaming. Free kick for China. Stoppage time in approach. Just to see what China's appetite is here. Jia China take it across to the right-hand side. Jai Rose is trying his darndest to win it back for Australia and does. But the pass forward. Short of the Honduras teenagers' best. 4 minutes of additional time for Trevor Morgan's side to hunt the equaliser that's eluded them. Gone as close as a saved penalty from the spot. Matthias McAllister. Zhang Jiaming still going and firing wide at the near post. In fact, it was Xiangshun. Djurjevic has been able to keep 2 of his premier talents at this age group in reserve. Still have a 1-0 lead to hold on to. China there for a first youth international win in this age group against Australia in a long time. Working away, Xiangshun. Gabriel Tillo for company. It's the youngster of Sydney United who scraps hard to win the ball back. The sign of the day that it's been for Australia and Delano Cecchi. Just past the reach of the Italian-based fullback. If they are to earn a share of the spoils, it is going to be late drama for the young Socceroos. To put it perspective how long it's been since Australia tested defeats to China in this age bracket. Coach of that team that went down to China in '06, Ange Postecoglou. Had a very interesting journey since that fateful defeat to China, which some will remember for the right and wrong reasons. Final minutes of stoppage time approaching in Jiwu. Is there one last roll of the dice? One last chance on offer for Australia. Can only deny the advance of the opposition. They have often puffed for an entire hour, Australia. Knocked at the door, they have forced Ye Hassan into saves, into penalty saves. Chased and chased and chased. Is that equaliser going to slip them by? Be about to lean and on the generosity of the referee. Stabbed away by China, and that'll do it. The cavalcade of Chinese supporters turn out in Yiwu, and they will celebrate a first victory for China at this age group since 2006. It is defeat for Trevor Morgan's Young Socceroos in Game 1 of the Friendship Series. Young Min Rae's goal on the half-hour mark, stabbing it home past the scrambling Jaya Janovic, proves the difference in the Zhejiang province. Australia huffed and puffed in the second half. Yi Hassan had plenty of work to do. From the likes of Marcus Neal and Matthias McAllister, who had a Panenka penalty save with 10 minutes to play. While they battened down the hatches, China held on for a win in the first game of this two-match series. And a chance presents on Tuesday at the same venue for the Young Socceroos to put things right and end their first international window of 2026 with a win. China, who start the Friendship Series with victory, the full-time score from Yiwu. China 1, Australia 0. Stay with us. If you're watching it at home, we are going to get post-match reaction from both sides of this matchup. Interviews to come from Australia and China, as well as a look back at the highlights. And we're ready to go with Luis Marinucci, the Young Socceroos skipper.
It's a quite tough match for you today. So looking back, what aspects could improve for the following matches?
I think just moving the ball a bit quicker, playing. We had a really good second half. Maybe play the way we did in the second half in the first half.
我觉得我们主要提升的应该是我们的团队的响应速度，以及在接下来的这个上半场的这个积极的配合状态上。
几天后还有一场较量，请问他还有对后面一场比赛有什么期待？
There will be following matches after 2 days. What's your expectations for the following matches?
China will be a very tough team. They're very strong, direct. They've got good players. So we just got to give everything we got, and hopefully we get the result.
我们的对手，我们在今天的比赛中已经意识到他们非常是强大的队伍，所以在接下来的比赛中，我们希望能够更进一步的全力以赴，备战好下一场。
Well summated by the Young Socceroos captain, who knows that there is work to do ahead of Game 2 against China. Australia will be out for revenge on Tuesday. Let's hear from the China side of things now.
我觉得我们比对方优势在我们更团结，然后我们防守更积极。
今天的进球帮助球队取得了胜利，下一场你有什么目标和新的期待？
希望下一场我们能延续这场的精神吧，然后这个进球我要感谢我们所有队友一起努力。
谢谢。
Chat with the goal scorer there, Young Min Rae. Australia just could not find a way to breach the China defence after his opening goal. You can see it was an even contest, 11 shots to 11. Australia did really push the pace in the second half. China had precious few second half chances to speak of, other than a few long-range shots from Young Min Rae. It was an entertaining start to the Friendship Series between China and Australia. Highlights are plenty in the game, particularly in the second half. Mostly half chances for Australia in slow first 45. Did boil over at moments, friendly in name only. This moment between Youngmin Ray and Danilo Trefiletti. The wingers, the wide threats, continued to be an ever-present handful, and that's where the goal ultimately came. Deflected effort from the left winger Miao Rung-don, collected comfortably at the back stick by Youngmin Ray. Kadidalitsa got his body in the way, but could only watch on as the 18-year-old Chinese winger guided it past Jayanovic. It could have been two before the break. Now Rung-don again deflecting it off Luka Didalitsa. Marcus Neal had the first of quite a number of chances to open his Australian goal-scoring account, the Sunderland product. Trevor Morgan knew the side needed to show more in the second 45 and show what they did. Amlani Tatu had a great opportunity as Australia burst out of the second half blocks. Wonderful run and pass to pick him out from Peter Antonio. One of a number of very solid saves from Miho-san. Youngmin Ray, the goal scorer, continued to threaten from range. A few sizes from distance. This was a huge chance for Marcus Neal, well smothered by the China goalkeeper. Just was not to be. The teenage son of a gun's day, Yiwu. This one could have been something. Had Matthias McAllister been slightly further forward, and he was to come the closest for Australia in the 90. He won the penalty off the China captain, Yue Rejia. Not the penalty. A long way short of what he would have liked. The Panenka, great when they work, not so good when they don't. As close as Australia could come to a share of the spoils here in Yiwu. On to game 2 on Tuesday night at the same venue between the same teams. But here in the Zhejiang province, it's China who end the evening with a win. We sign off from the Yiwu Mehu International Sports Stadium. From myself, Lockie Flanagan, and the production crew, it's goodbye for now. China with the win.
that people should enjoy. Both teams trying hard to attack, to try and play well, and the result is we now look forward to the next match the most.
首先，我们祝贺中国队在今天的比赛获得了胜利。我相信在场的各位观众和我们的媒体朋友们也能享受这场比赛的精彩。当然，我们在整场的比赛当中也一直在持续努力，为了做到更好。当然，结果已经如此了，所以我们接下来会更期待接下来的这一场赛事。
感谢主教练。接下来是媒体提问环节，有媒体记者举手提问，在提问前，请先报出自己的媒体单位。第二排的。
仰望生足球记者，想请问主教练，想请您点评一下今天中国队首发的2个边路11号和7号球员的表现，因为我观察到他们上半场应该是给您的球队造成了很多威胁，包括进球也是来自于他们2个的这么一个串联。谢谢。
Would you like to review the Chinese team, the front players? They have a very aggressive matches
They have very good pace and power in wide areas. I think they showed that they can be clever 1v1. That's a good challenge for us, and we enjoyed.
这2位球员的节奏表现非常出色，对我们而言的话，也是一个非常有挑战性的一个，
好，下一个问题。
Hi Morgan, I want to know how do you think this game's tempo and intensity is it the highest one among the recent games with the China PR?
Thank you. I think you asked the question because you know the tempo was good. Both teams are trying to compete, and this is what we expected. That's why we come here. To play matches where maybe we can challenge China and China can challenge us, so we become better footballers, better team.
我认为2队都是需要去进行这个相关竞争的，这也是我们所期望的，能够取得更好的成绩。当然了，在这一次比赛中，我觉得我们也许可以挑战中国，当然中国队也希望能够挑战我们，但最后的结果就是我们希望这个比赛能够取得这个想要的结果。
还有媒体朋友要提问吗？
Trevor, obviously the first match of a 2-game friendly series with a relatively new crop of players coming through into the Young Socceroos. What do you think you learned about some of the players on the pitch this evening?
Yeah, for sure, the ones that it's their first time in international football, they now understand the tempo, they understand the quality of the opponent. And I think I will learn the most in the coming days leading into the next match. Yeah?
我认为这是他们第一次参加相关的比赛，所以对一些相关的规则和这个整个赛事的这个程度方面，可能还需要一些学习，有很多不熟练的地方。但是我觉得他们目前而言学习得很好，并且应该能够在接下来的比赛中发挥不错的表现。
还有媒体朋友要提问吗？好的，澳大利亚队的赛后新闻发布会到此结束，稍后将进行中国队的赛后新闻发布会。This is the end of pre-match conference of Team Australia. Thank you.
Thank you.
i Australije i Kini na jednom dobrom performansu i mislim da su navijači stvarno mogli da uživaju u dobroj, modernoj igri dve ekipe, dve mlade ekipe.
应该说要感谢咱们两队的队员在场上的全力以赴，这种拼搏精神，也相信这种精神也感染了到场的所有的球迷，让他们感受到了足球的带来的美。
Imali smo i dobru podršku sa tribina, što nam je puno značilo u svakom trenutku.
就像赛前那样，我们预测到的，咱们这场比赛来了很多的球迷，从看台上给了我们很大的支持。
Što se same utakmice, ovako u nekom taktičkom smislu koji je bio vrlo specifičan, ekipa Australije igra u nekom neuobičajenom sistemu u rombu, pa smo se mi prvi put susreli sa tome i veoma sam zadovoljan kako smo u tom smislu odgovorili na postavku ekipe Australije.
这场比赛对我们来说是一个很好的测试，因为澳大利亚的它这个阵型4-4-2菱形站位呢，是我们之前没有遇到过的阵型，所以队员也通过这场比赛也增加了一个见识。
Sve u svemu, jako sam zadovoljan, svi znamo da je Australija uvek ima jako dobru ekipu, dobro se kotira u azijskom fudbalu i ovo je način kako mladi igrači rastu i kako stiču samopouznanje. Može to da bude i poraz i nerešeni rezultat, ali kad se susretnete na ovom nivou i kad ste blizu jedan od drugog, na taj način raste vaše samopouznanje i napredujete kao igrači. To je ono što je jako važno za našu ekipu.
澳大利亚是咱们亚洲足坛的一支传统强队，所以说呢，我们在各个层面上跟他们的进行的交手，甭管比赛的结果是什么样的，获胜还是输掉比赛，对我们来说都是一个好的一个学习的过程，我们都珍惜这个过程，我们还是立足于关注于我们自己的表现。
OK, to je neki kratak komentar, izvolite.
感谢主教练。接下来是媒体提问环节，请媒体记者们举手提问。在提问前，请先报出自己的媒体单位。
主教练好，首先恭喜球队拿下了比赛的胜利。第一个问题是想问，其实主教练的换人是在第76分钟才开始进行的，然后也注意到了换上的5名球员其实都不是后卫线上的球员，想问一下，是不是主教练对于今天后防线上的表现还是比较满意的？谢谢。
Še. Dobro, pre svega ja i kolega smo po oficijalnim imamo 5, je li tako? Međutim, ja i kolega smo izrazili želju da zbog trenutka i razvoja igrača i dobili smo više izmena, što je dobro i za njega. Ipak je ovo selektivna utakmica i dalje, pripremna. Tako da je i za kolegu iz Australije i za nas bilo važno da veći broj igrača može da dobije šansu.
因为其实之前咱们这个比赛可能是想的是像跟其他的正式比赛一样是5个换人，但是我们赛前呢跟对方主教练进行了交流，我们双方都希望能够通过这个比赛去看到更多球员的表现，所以我们临时商量的有更多的换人数。
Ali naravno uslovi na terenu diktiraju kako ćete praviti izmene i šta ćete raditi. I druga stvar, znate, igrači u Kini intenzitet, ritam nije takav. Morate da ih provlačite kroz ovo, da trpe kad im je teško, kad misle da ne možu više, da u stvari dodaju još više. To je realno u ligi da igraju u Kini nema. Zato su nam ove utakmice važne što vas nateraju na više, na veći napor, da morate da se potrošite i kad mislite da ste gotovi.
比赛这种国际比赛呢，其实强度远高于我们国内的比赛，所以我们的球员需要去适应这个比赛节奏。在比赛中呢，他们可能付出的也非常多，也比平常付出的多。所以我们在场上是按照场上的局势和球员的状况进行的这个换人。
Ali pre svega mislim da smo u taktičkom smislu iz razloga koji sam rekao je bio sudar čudnih nekih sistema, da su vrlo brzo prihvatili nešto što je potpuno novo za ekipu i u defanzivnom smislu i da smo jako dobro odgovorili na to, pogotovo prvo poluvreme.
我们非常满意球队尤其上半场吧，针对对方的这个进攻阵型，在防守端的表现。
主教练在赛前新闻发布会也提到了，现在球队是从0到1的一个就是打磨阵容的一个阶段。但是就主教练现在的观察和感受来说，我们的板凳深度怎么样？然后相较于他之前执教的国青队，是不是板凳深度会更好一些？
Rekao sam, ne poredim sa 0,5-0,6, to je druga priča potpuno. To vam je kao kad imate dvoje dece, jedno je ovako, drugo je onako. To je moje jedno starije dete, ovo je mlađe. Svako ima svoje specifičnosti i trudimo se da budemo bolji svaki dan. Eto, to je moj odgovor.
之前也说了，我们队其实也尽量不要做这种和06进行对比。另外一方面就是2支球队对我来说就跟俩儿子似的，儿子都不一样。我们就把这个儿子养好就最好。
Nisu iste ekipe po balansu, po rotacijama. Balans ekipe je potpuno drugačiji, taj i ovaj, tako da ne treba to porediti. Na kraju krajeva mi ne znamo ni za protivnike. Da li su oni bolji od onih ili su slabiji. Znači, bavimo se sobom i idemo dalje.
我们还是把球队打造好，因为每支球队自己的球员特点不同样，我们打造这个球队的时候重心也是不一样的，所以说是，场上的表现内容也是根据对手的实力有所区别。
还有媒体朋友要提问吗？请给第一排老师。
你好，中国体育报记者。我看这场比赛大概在70多分钟的时候，咱们联系得有3到4名甚至更多的球员出现这种抽筋的现象。我不知道主教练对这种有没有感到意外？然后你怎么评价这种现象？是因为比赛强度太大，还是因为我们的这种尝试性的打法付出的一些代价啊？谢谢。
Наши играчи падали, играчи su dobili grč do 70 minuta. Je to zbog intenziteta utakmice ili zbog naše taktike kako mi igramo malo više troši njih?
Uopšte, u Kini se nešto mnogo priča o tome. Znate, ima raznih razloga. Nekad igrač legne da se odmori malo, nekad. Ali ne treba to uopšte apostrofirati. Ima toliko dobrih stvari na terenu koje treba da vidimo. Drugo, jak jeste intenzitet. Stvarno je, prvo, 99% ovih igrača nije odigralo utakmicu. Oni su u nekim pripremnim periodima, ovi koji igraju 3., 4., 21 nisu još počeli takmičenja, ovi koji igraju u Super ligi, jedan je odigrao poluvreme. Znači, ovo je jaka takmičarska utakmica u tom smislu.
因为确实刚才也提到了，咱们这种国际赛事呢，比赛强度确实更强，要比起国内赛事。但从另外一个角度来说，咱们的这些球员来自不同的联赛，现在有些联赛还没有开始，所以他们还没有进入一个比赛的状态。所以他们有些球员在一些中超、中甲比赛里，可能也就踢半场的比赛，所以他们的体能状况确实还没有达成一致。这也是我们之前就有所了解的。当然，场上比赛有一些你看到球员的倒下，一些也有一个出于战术考虑，一些这可能球员需要一点休息时间。
好，下一个问题。
教练您好，义乌市媒体中心记者提问。我们也注意到您并非首次来到义乌，想请问一下，在您眼中，义乌是怎么样的城市？如何评价今天比赛的现场的氛围、球迷的表现？
Ovo što sam vidio u 2-3 dana vrlo simpatičan, onako malo više internacionalan nego drugi gradovi gde sam bio u Kini, što je meni bilo onako, ali znam da je grad biznisa i da je mnogo ljudi sa svih strana sveta ovde došlo da žive, rade i tako dalje. Vrlo interesantan, meni se to sviđa kad je miks tako. Inače, još jednom kažem, hvala još jednom gradu, jako vode računa o nama, imamo sve uslove i za trening i za hotel i sve kako treba i još jednom stvarno im hvala na gostoprimstvu. I da sledeću utakmicu bude još više navijača.
确实非常感谢义乌这边给我们球队提供这么好的一个备战条件、场地条件，在比赛中来了这么多球迷给我们助威。我们也希望第2场比赛也能来更多的球迷来为我们喝彩。当然，义乌是一个上次我也说了，义乌是一个国际化城市，城市里有不同的国家的人都生活在这个城市里，能够感觉到这里的 气氛，一种国际化的气氛，当然作为一个商业气氛比较浓的一个城市。
好，最后一个问题啊，那么对于义乌这座城市的未来以及足球的发展有什么建议和期待吗？
Znate, ja se stvarno iznenadim kad dođem u Kinu i dođem u neke gradove koji imaju neverovatnu infrastrukturu i pitam ko igra tu, kaže niko. Za mene je to malo onako čudno da toliko dobre infrastrukture sve, ali nema klubova. Čuo sam da ovaj grad nikad nije imao, ali tako? Da nikad nije imao klub i želim strukturama iz grada da učine sve da iskoriste ove divne uslove i da naprave fudbalski klub u Yiwu. A ja ću da dođem ako treba da im pomognem da naprave klub. Da pomognemo svi da ovakav jedan lep grad ima fudbalski klub. Ima tu sigurno i puno dece i tako dalje.
到过中国这么多城市，其实每个城市其实基础设施建设都是非常好的，都有非常好的场馆设施和场地条件。但是很多城市都是没有足球俱乐部的。相信咱业乌现在也是目前处于这个阶段，我们也非常希望以后义乌能够有一支自己的职业球队，就是到时候我有机会能够来到这里观看他们的比赛。
好的，感谢教练。
还有媒体朋友们要提问吗？好的，本场比赛的新闻发布会到此结束，希望大家继续关注31号的比赛，谢谢。
谢谢。